So this is actually true, right? So Matt Kennard has basically done a lot of investigations and written some books about these courts that take the government to court. They're like very, very special high courts, right? Where the government is prosecuted for changing law or making law which puts certain private companies and entities at a financial loss, right? Or even harms their projected profits that they haven't even made yet, right? Now, I said, well, what about the health of the public? What about all these McDonald's, burger chains and Subway and KFC, which knew exactly the effects of their food and the habits of their food's effects on the customers, right? And the health and the projected health of their customers as it was progressing, knowing that it would continue. Why hadn't the NHS sued those companies for harming the health of the people? Or effectively, why aren't the people suing those companies, right, for health detriments? Because they can do it. This is when you get into the area of all these pharmaceutical companies who have got all these immunities, when apparently they're giving us all these injections for all these diseases and they're claiming immunity and protections, right? Because they don't want to be liable. Well, the entire food industry, but the thing is, most of the food industry is owned by the same corporate entities that turn out to be this BlackRock and Vanguard. So what is the strategy behind their food strategy? Knowing the effects of it and knowing that the habits they're creating and the advertising effects, right? But it's not even just that anymore. And I know that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be in charge of the health system in America. So if he can somehow sue these companies for what they've done to the health of the people, because they are responsible ultimately, they had all the scientific evidence of behaviour from advertising, and they knew the effects, so they should be sued by the World Health Organization. Should even sue them, but I think the World Health Organization is behind it, right? So if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. can't make that happen when he gets in charge of the American Department of Health, he needs to get into that area which Matt Kennard's been investigating. But I've actually realised something else, and I've realised it with Royal Mail. It's to do with David Cameron is a big player in this as well, or Lord Cameron, and Keir Starmer, and also Nick Clegg, Tony Blair, people like that. Now, you need to learn about constitutional law of England, right? And the constitutional law of England is that they've got to act for the profit of the whole realm, which is the government. So that really means that the government are meant to always be in profit. They're not really allowed to go into minus. It means if the government go into minus, it's illegal, so that they shouldn't need to be borrowing money off people or other governments, right? And then you get onto this whole, they're complaining about this black coal or whatever. There's a guy called William Keat. And William Keat, he's got a website. He does constitutional law, but he claims he's worked out this procedure that can be done through the economy and the Bank of England and the government, whereby it will rebalance it all and restore wealth to the people. Well, it's meant to be called the Commonwealth, right? And the Speaker of Parliament didn't want anything to do with it, mainly because he's part of the Privy Council, right? And I don't think that he can do it. This is all to do with who really owns BlackRock and Vanguard and what are the secret assets of Charles which are being hidden, and being in charge of the military, and Charles's speech, military style campaigns beyond leaders, with trillions at his disposal from a private corporate sector. It's got to do with that. And what it actually comes down to in the constitutional law is that the 1297 confirmation of the charters is law that cannot be done. Certain things cannot be done by the government, not even put through Parliament and voted by members of Parliament, and not even given royal assent by the King, right? Certain things, if they're found to be against those acts, they haven't been done. You don't even have to go really get it undone, because in reality it hasn't been done. The legal contract is void. And one of these things is Royal Mail, because Royal Mail is actually the communication of the king, right, of the realm. It's the communication of us. It means that if a company or business, a private one, goes bust or bankrupt, or all of them do, or all of the email companies, Royal Mail, and it cannot go bust, because it belongs to the people and the government, and it is the communication of the government, right? So it's not like it can't shut down, it can't close down, it can't it can't be bought or sold, because if Google liquidated, there would be no Google Mail, right? And if Microsoft liquidated, there would be no Hotmail, right? And if DHL and all these companies, right, just liquidated one by one, which they can because they're just private companies, right, there won't be any services to deliver post or mail, right? So how would you send a letter to the government over, like, court matters and things like that? Because it's a functioning process of government. Now, Keir Starmer's going on about, well, you know, they've got Royal Mail have got to qualify for certain things and certain agreements. No, there aren't any agreements, right? It belongs to the realm, and there's the whole term, the Commonwealth, is the wealth of the whole people in the realm. Now, what these private companies have done have been acting for their own profit, and not the profit of everyone. In fact, most people are in minus, and in fact, apparently, even if all these companies drew their money out of the banks can't pay them because they haven't got enough money to pay them. It doesn't exist on paper and in gold, right? Well, and it's definitely not. We haven't got it in our bank accounts because we're all skint, right? The average American can't put his hand on $1,000, right? So what they've actually done between the government and all these big companies is actually which is this black hole is, right? Is They've conjured up and lied and created fictional money, which they haven't really got, which is really what's got them all their things. We've been making all their things for them and doing everything for them, not to our profit, but to theirs. So they've robbed us, they've stolen from us, and they've colluded with the government. Now, let's go back to the confirmation of the Charters Act. It encompasses law which says that everything has to be done for the profit of the realm. So these private organisations and companies have actually gone against that law. So that's what you claim in these special courts. Rather than these companies claiming against the government that the government's hurting their profits, right, it's actually the other way around, which is that these private companies have stolen from the realm, from the people. It's actually taken money from the people, right? They've stolen the money from the government, right? And the government have let them. And this is when you get into this Rand Paul, because Rand Paul is actually about... Rand Paul's main concern has been government spending and the debt, right? Unless he's a liar, he'd prefer it if there wasn't any government debt, so he claims. Whether or not he's part of this, I don't really know for sure, because we don't really know the true motivations of these senators. But what I do know is that there is some money somewhere. It's called disposable trillions, and Charles has made a statement, and he said, there are disposable trillions around, and apparently it's in the realms beyond GDP of countries, right? So it exists, even though they're saying that all these companies are going to crash in the economy and go bust, right? Well, someone isn't telling the truth. There are some disposable trillions somewhere, and apparently it's in the realms beyond global GDP and things like that, right? So the truth of the matter, and this is actually probably the most serious thing ever, actually, is that these courts that have been used against the government have actually been used corruptly and illegally, because what Matt Kennard, I don't know if Matt Kennard knows the constitutional part of it, but if Matt Kennard, to what he's studied and learned, when you add in the constitutional part, it makes actually these corporate entities are actually the ones who have been acting illegally, not the government. They've actually got no right to sue the government. In fact, they've been claiming that it's all about their profit, but actually, no, it's the profit of the Commonwealth, of the whole people, which is like Royal Mail. Royal Mail's an asset for the whole realm because we get our mail delivered efficiently and very quickly, and even second-class mail on Saturdays, which now they're wanting to even cut that back, for running for a profit. It's not any good to a company if they don't make profits out of it, but profits at the loss of us because it's costing us loads of money to pay for it. Actually, this is what Jeremy Corbyn wanted, to keep Royal Mail and run it without profit, just so it's a service which exists for us and costs us very little and gets the job done, right? I mean, you could even do it with volunteers. You know, if you had to, you know, there are people volunteering for Oxfam and for foreign countries. Why wouldn't they volunteer for their own country? You know, on the worst case scenario. And it all comes down to managers. Have they got the right manager? Well, I think there's certain managers are purposely running things into the ground under certain directions, like with this postmaster scandal, and there were certain strange things going on with that on the computer systems, which still we haven't really completely got to the bottom of, even with all the legal cases, right? So, I mean, it might have to take America, even if America is corrupt, to sort out England, right? But apparently America can go to these courts because people can go to these courts from other countries. You know, apparently, you know, private businesses, global businesses have been suing the English government. So if global businesses can sue the English government for affecting their profits, even if they're not in England, then why can't the American government sue the British government at the request of the British citizens, because it's been breaking its own laws, right? Not to the profit of the realm. So, I mean, Donald Trump's even been talking about annexing Canada, which I don't know whether that's true or not. So, it's quite serious, actually, and really, they've taken our Royal Mail system off us for their own profit because our government's created itself a black hole. Well, what's actually happened is our government has actually literally given trillions to these companies, which we need to find out who and what these companies are, right? And when Charles was, you know, saying, well, you know, disposable trillions. Well, how did you acquire these trillions? Oh, we took them from. Oh, they're mine. I'm Charles. It's my government, and I'm in debt. I'm in the minus. But there were disposable trillions somewhere in a private global sector, and it's a military-style operation. It's beyond me. Well, you know, because, you know, beyond me in my capacity as leader of England, it was in minus in the government, but the private sector is in profit. We got disposable trillions, which basically means you took the money from yourself as King Charles and gave it to yourself as Charles, leader of disposable trillions. And this military-style operation is likely a corporate business section, you know. In fact, in the army, you have regiments and you have companies. If you think of the army, you have like sections, section leaders, you have units, you have campaigns, but you also have companies like Fourth Company, Fifth Company, Sixth Company, Seventh Company. So are these global companies really the military campaign? And are they doing a military campaign through a company campaign, which it looks like it's a business model, an enterprise? But really, it's what would you do if you dressed the army in shirts and ties and suits and sent them off to sell chocolate bars, right? But really, they're actually harming the health of the nation, and they don't need to use guns because they can just fill people up with chocolate, right? And make loads of money out of it as well. Why send an army in with guns when you can send a load of salesmen in with chocolate bars and turn people into beach balls and roll them around, right? Like cannonballs, and fire them around everywhere until they start dying of cancer. So this is the thing. This is where we are with it, which needs investigation. But through certain oaths of England, you're not allowed to harm the reputation or honour or image of the royals. They've always got to be honourable and prestigious and so forth, right? Unless you're petitioning the king, which you've got the right to do without being prosecuted in law. But that doesn't mean necessarily to say that you might not have a stroke of bad luck, come your way, the curse of the bishops or whatever. So this is where I am with it now, which is quite important. So what actually needs to happen is those trillions don't belong to those private companies. It belongs to the realm and to the profit of the people, and it's all illegal. Nothing the government has done against that charter is lawful or has actually been done. Every contract is void in law, and every vote in Parliament is void, and everything the king put through is void. So whatever the king's done and stamped off to royal assent hasn't been done according to those charters, and also they're meant to protect the rights and liberties of the realm. There's no actually oath in the army to protect the rights and liberties of the subject, and they've taken it out of the MP's oath, although they've got to act according to law, and that's still the law, but the emphasis is gone. So, and also there's the limitations of the crown. So there is always meant to be the limitations of the crown's a legal thing, even if you're supposed to protect the dignity of the crown and so forth. There's a limitation of the crown. Now, that actually is important in those courts as well, to do with this money, because the limitations of the crown would also prevent the crown from going into minus, into debt. And the realm, the wealth of the realm, the commonwealth, the profit of the realm, losing its profit, which we have done because there's this big black hole. So Charles, as King of England, it's illegal for him to be in minus, have a dash in front of the amount, like a line, a dash, that's illegal, right? It's meant to be a plus. It's meant to be in plus, right? Not in minus. For Charles as King of England, for His Majesty's government to be in a minus is criminal and illegal, right? Now, how did that happen? Well, because he himself put laws through where certain things can be done, and then these courts, right, have been suing our government when we put them out of profit. But, who owns these? So you need to know who owns the governments, who owns the businesses, right, that have been taking these trillions from the government, right? That's what we need to work out. And we can't work that out because there are certain things in Charles's will which aren't allowed to be disclosed by law, right? But if the profit of the realm, if the truth were to be that it is something to do with that, then and the wealth of the realm, the profit of the realm, has been affected by Charles, right? Then the law that he put through government that says that his financial affairs are private and no one can see them or look at them, which protect the anonymity of those, because they put some laws through. Those actual laws being put through by Charles are null and void, to no effect, because what they do is they, if they're preventing the 1297 Magna Carta from being enforced or proceeded in to protect it through censorship, then those laws that Charles have put through are not legal, because they're they're to the loss of the realm. If they are affecting somehow the loss of the realm, right, the profit of the realm, they're null and void, because they're obstructing the profit of the realm, right? Because they're preventing us from actually investigating and discovering why we're not in profit, why we're in minus, right? And the rights and liberties of the subject are that they've got the right to defend and protect the profit of the realm through petitioning the king. And if they can't petition the king to do a certain thing to correct in order to petition the king, you need evidence, right? And you got the right to do that. You got the right to petition informations, right, without being prosecuted. So effectively, you could get that information and not be liable to be prosecuted if you could get it. I don't know if you could get it or not. This is like when you get into Julian Assange sort of territory. So that's my update to it. I know there are a lot of technicalities in there, whether you get black belt barrister or whatever to argue these technicalities, but that's the kind of like just the basis of it, the underlying principle of it. There's probably a lot of arguments to be had about that, but I know for certain that what they've done is they've flipped the whole thing upside down, and they've lied to us. And whoever these companies are that have been prosecuting the government, our government, for harming their profits, it's actually been the other way around. It's actually been our government that's supposed to prosecute them. Well, why hasn't it done? Well, because someone's not directed them to. Someone's not instructed them to. And these courts that have actually come out with the verdicts and decisions are actually wrong. They're actually corrupt and illegal. And this is when you get into Emma Arbuthnot, the head magistrate, and her husband Arbuthnot, who is in MI5 and MI6, and it's all under royal orders. And the king is the head of the militia still, since the whole since the Civil War. The government hasn't had a complete and total utter control of the army, because it's to do with the fact of the king maintaining his position of the realm. So I think that from how Charles spoke, he was speaking about military style and military campaigns with a deep, intimate relationship to business sector, and very, very large amounts of money, like trillions, and things that are beyond leaders of governments, right? Which is these motions that these big companies are doing against the government, right? Against the Prime Minister. Because if the Prime Minister makes a law which puts these profits at a loss, and then they prosecute the government, aka the Prime Minister, then it means that it's a very big action beyond the leader, right? But the leader's not in charge, the corporate company is, right? Which can't be possible. You can't have any corporate company running the world. What are our military doing? Aren't the military protecting the profit of the realm? This is the thing, military-style campaign. So are our military protecting the profits of our realm, or are our military now a corporate private entity beyond our leader? And that's what we need to identify. This is the thing, it's very much like Star Wars, when you've got this emperor, who, was the chancellor, is the emperor, who is the chancellor, and who is the emperor, and who is the chancellor, and who is the emperor, or whatever, right? So it's actually quite a serious matter. And Matt Kennard actually knows a lot more about it than me, but if Matt Kennard adds into his repertoire all of the 1297 confirmation of the charters and certain agreements for running the realm, and things in there, because the religion of the world, like the whole religious aspect of it comes in as well when you get into things like this assisted suicide bill and things like that. There's religious aspects where there's certain things they can't do, and protecting the genders like male and female, which are created, and so forth. Now, if you want to challenge the Bible and everything, then, you're going to end up with no laws and have to start from scratch. And, the people who've got us into this position are seriously being criminal and would have to definitely be prosecuted before that you started again with any new civilization or law. They'd have to be prosecuted because they're acting illegally, right? So that's my update of it. I know people like Donald Trump won't like that because, they're, even if they claim they're not, even if Donald Trump says that, I've got nothing to do with Fabians or Tony Blair or, the whatever, they're still part of the elite, billionaires, like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, but Mark Zuckerberg only got where he is in very modern history. This is going back, to the 1980s, or even it's going back, through the whole timeline of history. Mark Zuckerberg is literally like a new kid on the block. He's shot to wealth. In very recent modern history, since I left school, Mark Zuckerberg has just been potting around with his little money cash numbers going up and up and up and up because he managed to make a little website which could sell advertising on and mess around in a college laboratory and he just made loads of money and he can let's do some wacky experiments with loads of so-called experts, right? It's all through advertising. But who set him up? How did he, he's dealing with companies who give him money, right? So all Mark Zuckerberg's money comes from somewhere. Someone gave him it, right? Mark Zuckerberg just didn't go into a bank and print money out, and he just didn't, create a web. Anyone can create a website like Facebook if they sit there and do the coding for it for free, right? And if you're just a coder, you can just sit there, like, you write in books. I'm writing a novel. I'm writing an encyclopedia. I'm coding a website. Where did it come from? Well, I invented it, right? You didn't have to be for money, right? But Mark Zuckerberg's got a bank account and he's got X billions in there. Who gave him it? Who said, hey, Mark, I like this website you're doing. I'm going to make you a rich man. I'll give you some money if you let me show my products on your website, right? So all these businesses, well, who are those businesses? Well, all BlackRock Vanguard businesses. So basically, BlackRock Vanguard said, hey, Mark, show our shit on your website and we'll give you $1 billion, right? And now you're rich. So someone shook a handshake with him and made him into Saint Mark or whatever, and suddenly he's like Midas's touch. So where did the solid gold mark come from? Was some mysterious man on the street, or some leprechaun said, hey, I'll fill your pot of gold for you. So this is the thing, who are these business and companies who approached Mark with the allure of money and made him rich? Those are the companies who they made Zuckerberg, right? He might have done some coding, but it could have been anyone. And this is the thing with Elon Musk, that they're all the devil's advocates, that they're all subscribed to this regime. What's happening? And this is the thing, it's these trillions, oh, we've got some disposable trillions, we'll use it, we'll give it to Mark, right? No company needs to advertise. It doesn't have to advertise. People need to eat, right? So they're going to go find somewhere to eat when they're hungry. You don't need to advertise. And when you've bought all the food places, it doesn't matter which one they go to. So if you own 5 completely different food companies, right? And they're the only ones that around and positioned, people are going to go to them to eat because they need to, on the basis that they need to eat. And all the advertising is just making them eat more, maybe eating more than they should be eating more frequently, or the wrong type of stuff. It's all to do with, and this is where the excess money is being extracted and made from, to the detrimental health of the people, right? So, and it makes this trillions, and then they can say, we want to make more of this money. We want to inflate it bigger, so we'll give a load of it to Mark, and he can advertise our crap on his website, and then we'll make even more money, right? If you've got it, you can give it. So they had money to give Mark in the first place. So this is how it all works, right? Which actually is illegal because it's been harming our health. So this is what Matt Kennard, I'm saying, is on with. And once you add the constitutional part into it, it's illegal. And in fact, a lot of it hasn't been, it hasn't, in law, it's null and void. It hasn't ever been done, ever. So all the things that have been done, which can be proved and found to be not to the profit of all the realm, right, are illegal, which effectively is private companies and enterprise. So this is when you get Jeremy Corbyn, who actually wanted the country to be to the profit of the people in the realm, right? All people, because he wanted services to be owned by the public, because mail's there to get things delivered, right? And to communicate. It's not there for someone to make a private profit out of it, only them. It's there for everyone to make a profit out of it. And to be honest, workers don't make a profit. Like, workers actually, and I've said this in another video, workers get compensated for their time, right? And skills. So if you go, you put 8 hours into somewhere, you've sacrificed 8 hours, right? And you get compensated for those 8 hours to what your ability is. And apparently the more and more qualifications you've got, the 8 hours that you sacrifice is more valuable, right? So you get more compensation for your time. But it's never a profit because you've lost that time, right? You've got a profit when people do stuff for you, like you got apples, right, which grew on trees, and the cost of those apples to get them are 45p each, right? And you don't sell them for 45p each, and you don't lose any money or make any money, right? If you sell them for £1, then you made a profit. Then all your efforts and resources weren't at a loss, right? You've not only been compensated for all the time you put into it and covered all your costs. The word profit means extra, right? No employee ever makes a profit. So, and this is the thing. So the realm's not in profit. And this is tied into all the petitions when you've got, before these big corporate companies took over everything, before the Luddites, really, and they started making all these big factories, and the Luddites kicked off about the wages not being increased because they weren't making any profits themselves, right? What happened is that you had all these, it's like Keir Starmer. My dad was a toolmaker, highly skilled. You had all these highly skilled people, and when these highly skilled people were complaining about, taxation or their profits, how much money they were making, right, because of foreign trade affecting them and so forth, they petitioned the king to complain, right? Oh, the weavers aren't making any profits anymore, or the weavers are losing profits to these foreign competition companies who are importing materials, wine, spirits, fabrics, from abroad, and they're not as good or whatever, and they're not as good quality or whatever, or they're affecting the profits of the realm, the profits of the weavers, the profits of the companies and the guilds and all so forth, because they used to make profits, right? Particularly when they were all more privately owned and run, right? When every business is a family business, then you do make profits because you're not just working for a wage. The family business makes a profit, so all the family makes a profit, right? This is the thing. right? So, as we lose all these skilled people and families don't have businesses, they're run by these mill owners, right? Like the guy in Derbyshire, near Nottingham, was one of the first big factories to start doing this. So they claim they've always had weavers industries and so forth, and so, they've always had serfs and things like that. But what I'm saying is there was a lot more family businesses and people with skilled people where they actually, if it is actually a family business, all businesses run to profit, all workers don't work for a profit, right? So that when you've got more family owned or more people owning businesses, this is the thing with like eBay. They wanted to make everyone into a business, so every single person's a business, so they could tax every single person. But then that means that everyone would, if they did sell things, would kind of be in profit. But eBay take that much of the profits that you don't really make a profit. Only eBay makes a profit, right? eBay is the only one who really makes a profit, and everyone else really isn't really making that much of a profit at all. And this is the problem. And now I think supposedly somebody told me that apparently you can only auction things on eBay after 2025. Not actually sell things outright. I'm not too sure about that, but it's just something someone mentioned to me. But eBay takes everyone's money from them. I don't sell on eBay. It's not worth it. They wanted to try and they wanted to. It's like Amazon, right? Amazon, Jeff makes a profit, right? Other people, it's kind of profitable. Some people make loads of money through Amazon and Jeff, but he takes that much of it that it's not that profitable, and in fact, it's only really Amazon that make all the profits, right? It's always profit to Jeff, rather than other people. So this is the thing, and then Jeff is like one of these type of people who sue the government because if they change certain laws, and it affects his profit because he's not making as much profit as what he thinks that he should make or could, but. Is it to all the profit of the realm? Well, Jeff might say, well, yeah, because I'm helping all these businesses make money, all these people make money, but, definitely not equally across the realm, that's for sure. And definitely not the people who are working for me in my factory. It's not to their profit. It could, under that legislation, it could be illegal. And this probably will... When this Luddites and the boom of the factories kicked off and the Luddites smashed all the machines up, right, because their petition failed and some of them got hung because they didn't raise the minimum wage. This is the thing. It could be illegal if you get a really good lawyer, right, better than Keir Starmer. It could be like, Baron Denman was meant to be knocking around with all things like this with the Whigs. It could be arguable under the Constitution that employing people in factories only for a wage to compensate them on their time is illegal because they don't make a profit out of it. Just like, if it cost 45p to make and produce apples and pay the staff their wages, and if you only pay them 45p for an apple, then they're not running the apple factory at a loss, right? It's not running at a loss, so it can afford to operate, but no, the owner's not making any additional money out of it. Day after day after day after day, it just grows and makes and sells apples, and people eat them, right? He doesn't make any extra money out of it. And he might say, well, how does he expand his enterprise? This is the thing. More and more people start working there. You don't need to make profits. All you need to do is get more people coming in and making more apples, right? And once they start doing it, they're adding resources in and adding work in and adding the output of apples out, and then the more people who come in, the more apples you can make, the capacity grows. You don't have to make a profit. All you have to do is get more people to come and do it, right? And And what about land? Well, that's the thing. If it's providing apples, people might volunteer their land to it. This is the thing. So it doesn't have to be for a profit. Someone might say, "Oh, well, you can use my field to grow apples as long as everyone's going to get some out of it." It doesn't have to be for a profit to any. Or I'm the person with a certificate that says, "Oh, this land is mine," right? That's the model of charity, right? Which these people don't like the model of charity. They hate it, although the royals love this image. They like to make it look like they're advocating charity, and charity is good. At the front end of it, oh yeah, we're charitable. We've got the RSPCA. It's what makes the people love them. But the people don't love whoever's got these trillions and taking it off the people, so the people can't afford to put their heating on electricity. And then Keir Starmer cuts their winter fuel allowance, and he's not very popular at all. But apparently, because he's done loads of voluntary work for the courts his whole career, he's meant to be rewarded and so forth, gets people off death row. But what Keir Starmer didn't do, Keir Starmer's a hero. Why didn't he prosecute all these people and overturn all these death penalties, like, in Uganda or whatever, in the Privy Council court? Why don't Keir Starmer go into the Privy Council court and go, hey, just a minute, that investigation that Matt Kennard did, where all these companies have been suing our government because it affects their own private profits. Well, actually, that's illegal because it should be the government who's suing them for taking all the money from the realm, and why we're in minus, right? Because it's illegal against Magna Carta. We're meant to be in plus, right? We're meant to, like the church, people throw money at the church, people are throwing money at the church and they've got all this, we've got all this money, what should we do with it? I don't know, we'll give it to charity. So all these taxpayers are throwing money at the government. They give every single transaction you do to the government, you give them money, right? So, we've got loads of money, what do you want us to do with it? Why don't you give it to, the church? Why don't you, charitable, we've got so much money, we don't know what to do with it. No, we're actually in minus. So this disposable trillions, right? It's ours. It is ours. And, Donald Trump might not like that, but apparently Rand Paul doesn't want there to be government debt. So he claims, this is like, is he lying? Is he a con man? Is he just a fake, a fraud, right? Is he just like a fake or a fraud, right? This is the thing. Is he just pretending that he wants to get rid of government debt? Why isn't he why aren't he smashing the hammer down in the Senate, and getting Biden to do it? Probably because Biden owns half of these companies, He's going to stop him sending his kid to NASA. Well, if the American government wasn't in minus, right, then it could be giving out, golden tickets to kids, in healthy chocolate bars and with, surprise NASA trips. Like, the American government are in plus. We've got loads of money. What should we do with it? I don't know. Well, they'll look at these healthy new health bars that make kids healthy. All the nutrients you need in one day and without any excess fats, and in fact, they're that healthy that we could put these golden tickets in there, and every one kid in every 100 can go on a free NASA trip, like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, we're going on a free trip to NASA. Hey, this is great, this is the way I want to run America, this is the thing. Unless you get some kids then, like going in there and going through all the chocolate, eating too many of them to try and find the ticket, right? So this is it. We're being scammed, and these people are terrorists now. They've got ridiculous heat weapon, like big heat lasers, which can fire, start forest fires. They've got expert scientists who can, cause earthquakes and not be detected. They've got control of the news and media, what gets reported and what doesn't get reported. So if they set up certain things, they can make sure that no one finds out about it by not sending a news reporter team there, or even dropping the story or whatever, making sure it didn't get out. So we're being threatened by terrorists, gangsters, and Putin's one of them. regardless of what country he reckons he's got different to ours. He's one of them because they're using military weapons to try and scare citizens of countries, right? To stop them doing things like the Luddites did, So they don't want us to be in profit because then people they don't do what they want them to do, and it's a way to control people and resources. But whatever the model is for society, I don't think that these people who are currently in government are in a fit position to be making the decisions. It should be a vote of the people, I think. But anyway, so we actually need some kind of legal action through these special courts. So that's what Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I think, should be doing at an international level, whether it's through the World Health Organization or United Nations or whatever. It needs to be those type of courts that are taking these legal actions against other governments. And I don't actually see why the American government cannot take the English government to court. I don't know if America has got this constitutional law which says profit to all the realm. They likely haven't, but England have. So, where is the profit of the realm? So those companies need to be prosecuted. Like Royal Mail hasn't been sold. Royal Mail has not been sold. David Cameron did not sell it because it's not to the profit of all the realm, all the people. It's actually to their loss because it's actually costing us a fortune now just to get letters delivered, and they're cutting services. So, and they're actually our services for the people to get mail delivered, because if private companies go bust that aren't the government, there's no way to communicate with the government. It's an integral part. It's actually part of the government, and they're trying to make out that it kind of wasn't, which is wrong. And I'm not the one who's wrong. So Royal Mail hasn't been sold as far as I'm concerned. It can't be sold. David Cameron is a criminal. So is Tony Blair. And, these Fabians need to be prosecuted at law for constitutional crimes, treason and constitutional crimes.